Hello, everybody. Uh, Thank you very much for joining us today. Sorry, we had a couple of technical things we had to deal with, but we'll go ahead and actually get this public meeting started. As you can see on the screen, um, we have our agenda for it for this afternoon, for this evening. And we're going to be talking to you about the Florida Department of Transportation's 2024 DBE goal methodology for federal highway and federal transit. Um, as you can see from the agenda, we're going to be pretty tight and we'll go right through it. Introductions, my name is Terry Watson. I'm the State DBE Program Coordinator for the Florida Department of Transportation. I work in the Equal Opportunity Office. Um, a little bit of housekeeping we'll give to everyone. If you need to use the facilities, they're in the back. Feel free to get up at any time and go, and then come on back in. Um, we'll have somebody if we need to call 911. Who will be responsible for that? Okay, we have someone that will take care of 911 calls, and those are the two main things. And you know where your exits are. There's exits in the back, and then there are emergency exits on the sides. I looked just like a stewardess just then, didn't I? Working at in the airlines. Um, so that's it for our housekeeping. So now, actually, let's go ahead and get into the purpose for the meeting, which is a goal methodology. And we'll start with the Federal Highway Administration's methodology. So I'm going to put it up on the screen for you. Oops. Hold on. There we go. Okay, we'll start with the methodology for Federal Highway Administration for federal fiscal year 2024 through 2026. Again, triennial. The overall goal for the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or DBE program for FHWA, Federal Highway, assisted contracts is established on a triennial basis. The overall goal for federal fiscal years 2024 through 2026 has been set at 10.71%, utilizing the methodology described in 49 CFR Part 26. By submission of this goal methodology, FDOT commits that it will regularly monitor its progress in achieving the goal over the next 3 years and adjust its measures to include race-conscious efforts if necessary. Let's get into the methodology a little bit. In setting the goal for FDOT, it is required that the goal-setting process begin with a base figure for the relative availability of DBEs. The overall goal must be based on demonstrable evidence of the availability of ready, willing, and able DBEs relative to all businesses ready, willing, and able to participate on FHWA assisted contracts. The state of Florida is the primary market area for this analysis because all the dollars are spent within Florida, and the vast majority of the contractors and consultants are located in Florida. Step one, which is in 49 CFR 26.45, Section C. The base figure. FDOT reviewed the alternatives listed in 49 CFR Part 26 and selected the use of the DBE directory and Census Bureau data as the best approach for goal development. FDOT gathered business establishment information and DBE certification information for its step one analysis. In an effort to narrowly tailor our submission, which is very important, we used data from the Florida Bureau of Labor Statistics identifying firms ready, willing, and able to perform work in highway construction and consultant work areas on FHWA-assisted projects. This resulted in a total of 18,772 ready, willing, and able construction firms, both DBE and non-DBE, and 38,137 of ready, willing, and able consultant firms, both DBE and non-DBE. We then used the DBE directory to identify ready, willing, and able DBE construction and consultant firms, adjusted to account for firms likely or potentially eligible to seek or obtain certification. This provided a total of 1,695 DBE construction firms and 2,544 consultant service firms. By dividing the number of DBE firms by all firms ready, willing, and able to participate on FHWA-assisted highway projects, we arrived at a relative, move the screen up for you guys in case you're following along. A relative availability for both construction and consultant services. The calculation is shown below. And again, it's the number of DBE firms divided by the number of total firms. And that gives you a percentage for construction, a relative availability percentage of 9.02%. And on the consultant side, the consultant firms divided by the total consultant firms gives you a relative availability of 6.67%. Again, shown by the math there. So 9.02, which is the availability of construction firms, plus 6.67%, the availability of consultant firms, equals 15.69% total relative availability. But now we go into weighting to help us become a little more succinct and actually more narrowly tailored. Despite best efforts, FDOT was unable to fully scrub the labor market statistics of work areas common to both vertical and horizontal construction from the Census Bureau data. And as FDOT is unable to effectively use its bidders list for step one calculations, we instituted a process for weighting relative availability of firms by the FHWA funds projected for basic work categories. We believe this resulted in a more accurate and reliable step one figure. So now let's talk about the construction contractors. FDOT's AstroWare PRC system, or PRC system, now has information to identify how much dollars FDOT spends on different types of construction work. Because of this, we can use the information along with information from the EOC system, Equal Opportunity Compliance System, to weight and calculate, to weight our calculations by NAICS codes, The following table provides the percentage of dollars that DBEs would be expected to receive based on the following. In that table, you'll see the NAICS codes identified, description of those, the relative availability percentage, the FHWA funds by NAICS code, and FHWA funds for DBEs that would be expected. And so as we go through and look at those codes, you come up with 7.38% for DBEs. As 7.38% of FHWA funds are projected to be available for DBEs, and as 90.99% of all FHWA funds are projected for construction work items, The weighted relative availability for construction DBEs is 6.72%, as shown by the following calculation. And that's your 7.38% times 90.99% equals our weighted availability. Again, 6.72. Now let's talk about consultant service firms. The median dollars received by the consultant industry over the last 3 years was 9.01% of the federal dollars. FDOT pre-qualifies all our professional services firms by work category and also tracks the dollars spent in each of these work categories. Therefore, FDOT is able to weight our calculations by each work group. The following table provides the percentage of dollars that DBEs would be expected to receive by work category based on the following. So as you look at the left side the left column, FDOT consultant pre-qualification areas, the DBE relative availability percentages for each of those, then the FHWA funds by NAICS code for each of those, and then FHWA funds for DBEs. And that comes up to 26.36% availability for DBEs in the consultant arena. As 26.35% of FHWA funds are projected to be available for DBEs, and as 9.01% of all FHWA funds are projected for consultant services, the weighted relative availability for consultant DBEs is 2.37%, as depicted in the following calculation. Again, that's that 26.36% of DBEs times the availability 9.01% gives you 2.37% weighted consultant DBE availability. So now our step one results are DBE contractor weighted availability at 6.72% plus DBE consultant weighted availability 2.37% gives a total weighted base figure of 9.09%. The results of step one indicates that 9.09% is a valid base figure under current rules and processes for the determination of availability. This has been determined based on the most accurate information available. Now, real quickly, I'm going to describe the data that's used. FDOT used a number of sources to both identify relative availability of firms, and FDOT used a number of and to test the accuracy of this data. Sorry. In all cases, we reviewed the data sources to ensure that no firm was counted more than once. We also ensured that data reflected all firms ready, willing, and able to work on FHWA's assisted projects, whether as a prime contractor or consultant, or subcontractor, subconsultant, or whether the projects were state or locally administered. The following is a list of data used and its sources. So we use the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity Bureau of Labor Market Statistics through December 2022. We use the Florida UCP DBE Directory, that's Unified Certification Program. We use reports from AstroWare Project Construction at PRC that lists bidders, successful bidders, and their listed subcontractors. We use reports from the Procurement Development Application, or PDA, that lists bidders, successful bidders, and their listed subconsultants. And we use DBEs and MBEs entered into the Equal Opportunity Compliance system, EOC system. So now we get into step 2, which is governed by 49 CFR Part 26.45, Section D. According to 49 CFR Part 26, step 2 of the calculation process should examine the evidence available to determine if adjustments are needed in the base figure to arrive at an overall goal. The last DBE disparity study conducted for FDOT was dated January 1999 and reviewed data from July 1991 through December 1997. This study, conducted by MGT of America, recommended the suspension of current race and gender preference programs and the establishment of race and gender neutral programs, which assist all small businesses. The only other evidence that was available to be considered to determine if an adjustment was warranted was the capacity of DBEs measured by the past volume of work performed between 2011 and 2022. Past participation. To analyze the past participation, FDOT narrowly tailored our review to the performance of contractors and consultants separately over the past 12 years. In the past 12 federal fiscal years, from 2011 through 2022, DBE contractors performed 8.84%, 7.61%, 10.31%, 6.25%, 11.29%, 11.40%, 10.88%, 11.12%, 10.84%, 9.40%, 13.03%, and 9.06% respectively of the federal aid work in dollars. Again, I read through that pretty quickly, but you can see it there on the screen and in the document. The median past participation over these 12 years is 10.58%. And the relative availability of DBE contractors as determined in step 1 is 6.72%. To incorporate past performance, the appropriate adjustment is to average the median past participation at 10.58% and the relative availability, which is 6.72%. This average is 8.65%, which actually results in an upward adjustment to the relative availability of 1.93% for contractors. In the same fiscal years, DBE consultants performed 1.66%, 2.70%, 1.47%, 2.43%, 2.44%, 1.19%, 1.17%, 1.85%, 1.61%, 1.87%, 1.66%, 56%, and 3.60% respectively of the federal work in dollars. The median past participation over these 12 years is 1.76%. So the relative availability of DBE consultants as determined in step 1 is 2.37%. So to incorporate past performance, is appropriate. The appropriate adjustment is to average the median past participation, 1.76%, and the relative availability, 2.37%. This average is 2.07%, which results in a downward adjustment to the relative availability of 0.31% for consultants. And so now this chart here actually just shows you the federal fiscal years that we used, the 12 years, and the achievements that happened in each of those years. and what that median was, the 12.32%. So now the proposed goal is represented by the following calculation. The baseline figure, 9.09%, plus the median past participation of 12.32%. Together. That is the addition of both those together, as opposed to just doing it, showing it separately. We combined them. It was 21.41% divided by 2. So the DBE goal is 10.71%, reflecting an upward adjustment of 1.62%. Let's talk a little bit about race-conscious participation. In federal fiscal year 2021-2022, FDOT's DBE participation was 10.65%. The actual DBE the goal, was 10.65%, sorry. But the actual DBE participation we achieved was 12.66% on federally funded contracts, which was 2.01% higher than the established goal. On state-funded contracts, DBE participation was 12.84%. DBE participation on federal and state-funded contracts combined was 12.76%. That was the last federal fiscal year. Now, through May 31st of the current federal fiscal year, DBE participation on federally funded contracts is 13.61%. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Have I caught up with you yet? It's neutral a little, but gotcha. Sorry about that. There we go. So again, on through May 31st, we see that the federal fiscal year participation on federally funded contracts is 13.61%. On state-funded contracts, DBE participation is 11.92%, and federal and state funds combined is 12.55%. Sorry, so still above the current 10.65% goal that we're finishing out this federal fiscal year with, or this last triennial with. Race neutral methods. As I mentioned before, we're actually a race neutral DBE program state. So FDOT has initiated many strategies over the past 12 years and is continuing to develop and implement others. Some of the strategies that have been implemented in these years have taken time to mature and show results, but the efforts are productive. One of the significant race-neutral strategies has been the implementation of the Business Development Initiative, or BDI. This initiative was implemented on state-funded projects in July of 2006. FDOT originally submitted a request to apply this initiative on federally funded contracts as a race-neutral method in our DBE goal calculation methodology in FDOT's submittal to FHWA on July 26, 2006. After much delay, FDOT was asked to request this approval separately. On March 6, 2007, FDOT submitted a proposal to the FHWA Florida Division requesting it also apply the BDI to federally funded projects. On September 25th, 2007, the FHWA Florida Division forwarded the request to FHWA headquarters for approval as an SEP 14. In March 2009, the FHWA approved the BDI on federal funded projects. This approval increased the number of BDI contracts because of the smaller contracts associated with the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act that was going on then, which is those ARRA projects. The department and the state of Florida has fully supported the concept of the BDI as proven by the fact that in April 2016, Governor Rick Scott signed House Bill 7027 to include the establishment of a business development program to assist small businesses in obtaining contracts with the department. The bill went into effect July 1st, 2016, and is now an FDOT way of doing business. Florida Statute 337.027, if you want to go through and read what that entails. The BDI has been successful in assisting small firms to become a prime and in growing their business to eventually compete on larger contracts. Some of the other race-neutral methods that are being used include the Construction Management Development Program, CMDP, which is a state-funded program designed to improve and develop skills of owners and managers, enabling them to perform successfully on FDOT projects. Courses offered are business management, construction accounting, construction math and estimating, contracts, specifications and law, scheduling for FDOT, and plan reading for FDOT. Once the owner or owners or managers or manager of a DBE firm completes the prescribed course or courses, the firm will receive a certificate of proficiency and will graduate into the bond guarantee program. These courses, as well as a course on financing and bonding, are held yearly in 9 locations throughout the state: Fort Myers, Lauderdale, Orlando, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Pensacola, Miami, Fort Pierce, and Tampa. Another method, race-neutral method, is reserving contracts for small businesses under the department's Business Development Initiative. The department's goal is to reserve 10% of the construction or maintenance contracts and 15% of the professional service contracts to small businesses. Yeah, thank you. There we go. Yep. To address concerns about overconcentration in certain areas of professional services, the department has taken measures to address the underutilization of small businesses. The department is encouraging primes to use small businesses in areas where they are underutilized. Underutilization is defined by the department as 30% or less DBE and small business utilization levels for advertised work groups. Underutilization levels vary by district. Another race-neutral method that's used is providing technical assistance and other services throughout the year to DBEs and other small businesses with special emphasis on marketing, financing, and bonding. Another area, providing assistance throughout the year in overcoming limitations such as inability to obtain bonding or financing. Yet another, working with prime contractors, consultants, the Florida Transportation Builders Association, which is FTBA, and the American Council of Engineering Companies of Florida, which is ACEC, to encourage the use of DBEs. We also are performing bid matching function through our supportive services for DBEs to help pinpoint exact opportunities in work areas of interest to the DBE. This service also identifies prime plan holders to allow the DBE to target specific firms. Another area we have is Bridging the Gap program, which is designed to assist DBE owners ready to take the next step in growing their business, which is attuned to our mentor protege type program, actually. And then finally listed the Bond Guarantee Program, which is a financial support program, which the state of Florida acts as a secondary surety, guaranteeing the construction bonds for DBEs working on FDOT projects. Participation in the BGP is limited to those DBEs who have been awarded a certificate of proficiency, as I said earlier, that comes from the CMDP, and have documented knowledge of the principles of construction bonding. Construction bonding services under the BGP include packaging bond, construction bond principles, seminars, and overhead audits, which is a one-time free service for DBEs seeking pre-qualification as a consultant. The rest of our document will include, when we get to our final document, we'll add in the public participation piece, which this is a part of, and that'll be a final part of our goal methodology document for the FHWA, this year, for the triennial 2024 through 2026. All right, so now, as was on the agenda, we'll go into the, let's get you that document, sorry. We'll go here and then we'll go back. All right. Big hands on little computers. There we go. We'll now talk about the federal transit methodology for determining the DBE goal for Federal Transit Administration, federal fiscal years 2024 through 2026. Overall goal. Pursuant to the U.S. Department of Transportation, DOT rules and regulations provided in 49 CFR Part 26, DBE regulations, the FDOT proposes an overall DBE goal that is applicable to the DOT-assisted contracting opportunities for federal fiscal year 2024 through 2026. The proposed overall goal for DBE participation for transit is 3.59% of the projected FTA funds that will be subject to DBE participation requirements as demonstrated by the calculations shown below. Methodology. Pursuant to section 26.45, section B, the overall goal, excuse me, must be based upon demonstrable evidence of relative availability of DBEs in the FDOT's geographic market. Accordingly, the FDOT proposes an overall goal for DBE participation that is consistent with the FDOT's historical spending patterns and with the amount of DBE participation the FDOT expects to achieve. The following sections and the accompanying tables explain the process that was followed to calculate the 3.59% proposed overall DBE goal for federal fiscal year 24 through 26. Step 1, relative availability. Section 26.45, section C requires the measurement of ready, willing, and able DBE businesses in the FDOT's local market using the best available evidence to derive a fair and accurate base figure. To establish the base figure, the total DBEs by NEICS code were collected using the FDOT DBE directory. These totals were then compared to the total number of businesses by NEICS code as reported in the 2020 SUS annual data tables by establishment. And those were from the 2020 SUSB annual data tables by establishment industries, census.gov, at census.gov. The number representing all DBEs and the number representing all firms, both DBE and non-DBE, were then used to determine the percentage of ready, willing, and able DBE firms to all firms ratio for each NAICS code category, which is in Table 1 base figure. I won't read all of the table, but I'll leave it there. And it will be in the document, which will also be posted on our website. The Equal Opportunity Office website will be sent out to folks by our support services folks and by industry. We'll send to industry, and they can send out to their members. But as you can see, we looked, FTA looked at contracting opportunities, NAICS codes, the descriptions, the number of DBEs, the total firms, and then the availability. Came up with percentages. That's page 1. And continuation. So as a total, number of DBEs, 4,214, total firms, 85,170 for 4.95%. Step 2, historic trend analysis. Once the base figure of 4.95% was calculated, the FDOT reviewed historic data to determine whether the base figure is consistent with the market within the geographic area. Table 2 shows past reporting data for the total awards and commitments made from the previous 3 federal fiscal years. This data was collected from the FDOT statewide semi-annual DBE reports submitted to FTA. The median historic DBE awards and commitment is 2.23%. Now, step 3, forecasted weight. Although it is a best practice to assign a forecasted weight to contracting opportunities, FDOT does not currently track the NEICS code on invoices for FTA reimbursement at either the district or central office level. Due to this fact, it was determined that forecasted weighting is not an appropriate method for determining a statewide goal at this time. FDOT is in the process of developing a corrective action plan that will include updated processes and procedures. This corrective action plan will be completed by December 31st, 2023. Step 4, establishing a statewide goal. Pursuant to DOT guidance, the FDOT is adjusting the base figure derived in step 1 by using the median DBE participation of 2.23% derived in step 2. The base figure in step 1 was averaged with the median DBE participation figure in step 2, resulting in a final overall annual DBE goal of 3.59% for federal fiscal years 2024 through 2026. This goal will be reevaluated on an annual basis to further align with current trends and conditions. Race-neutral methods. FDOT shall meet the overall goal of 3.59% through the use of race-neutral methods. The DBE liaison officer will work closely with the transit office to monitor DBE participation in order to determine if mid-course corrections are needed. Race-neutral methods will include 1, providing technical assistance and other services to DBEs with special emphasis on marketing. 2, providing assistance in overcoming limitations such as inability to obtain bonding or financing. Number 3, providing the name, phone number, and email address for additional information concerning a contract. Number 4, continuing DBE supportive services program to develop and improve business management, record keeping, and financial and accounting capabilities for DBEs. Number 5, working very closely with new startup firms, particularly in fields in which DBE participation has been historically low. Number 6, assisting DBEs to develop their capability to utilize emerging technology and conduct business through electronic media. And number 7, working with prime contractors, consultants, the Florida Transportation Builders Association, and the Florida Institute of Consulting Engineers, which is now ACEC, same as in the other document, for use of DBEs. And as with the other document, our public participation piece for our FTA triennial goal submission will be included, determined and included after all of our participation has happened. So one last thing I want to show everybody is on this sheet, you'll actually see links, and this was actually put both in electronic newspapers as well as sent to support services to both FTBA and ACEC, as well as our support services actually shared the document with DBEs, contractors and consultants throughout the state. Both of our support service groups have done that. And this is also on the Equal Opportunity website. And I put it there so that, and put it here in this presentation here so that you can see that, you know, if you know of anyone who had wanted to come both either to the live meeting today or and wasn't able to make it, or wanted to even tune in through Teams but wasn't able to, you can see on here that what we will do, because we are recording this meeting will be placed on the Equal Opportunity Office web page. Transit will have it on their web page, as well as our support services, and we'll encourage both of FTBA and ACEC to have it on their web page, so that you can go in and view the recording if you want to actually see this presentation, live presentation. But both documents will be on all those places as well, so you can print the documents out or read them on screen you can read through the documents again. And what we do is really do encourage, really want you to take the time that if you have comments, if you have questions, but particularly if you have comments that you think might have some type of effect on our submission and what we've determined to be our submission of goal for the next 3 years, please send those. There's a dedicated email. It's in there as a link if you're looking at it electronically, but if not, you can just pull it up at 2023 DBE goal at dot.state.fl.us. Or you can mail questions or comments here to the Department of Transportation. Attention, 2023 DBE goal setting, 605 Swanee Street, Mail Station 65, Tallahassee, Florida, 32399. And well, now open up for any questions, if we have any questions from anybody here and anybody that actually tuned in.
What's the deadline for submitting comments or questions?
Before we actually submit to Federal Highway, which is August 1st, we would like your comments before then, because again, when we submit our final document, we want it as complete as possible, which will hopefully ensure that there won't be a delay in getting an approval for the next triennial goal for both FHWA and FTA.
So I can always submit comments and questions about the program, but if I want them to be considered for this goal setting, they need to be in by August 1st.
By August 1st. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for the question. Any other questions? Let's see, do you see anything in the chat? No. Well, again, the whole purpose of this public meeting was to go over both methodologies, give opportunity for some initial comments, but I understand why we might not have any, because it takes some time to actually, go through the material and digest it. So please do that. But as was stated, please try and if you have comments that you think will have an effect on what the goal is going to be submitted at, please get those to us by August 1st. If you any comments that we get, we will respond back to those comments through that email address. Again, that's a dedicated email address, and we'll keep it up. It'll stay up even past August 1st. So if you have comments, we still will monitor.
You mentioned supportive services several times.
Yep.
Can you give a plug for supportive services if you have DBEs or prime contractors on the line want to learn or have to have more opportunity to find DBEs and use them? How would they access supportive services?
Great question. In case you didn't hear, because didn't have a microphone, but I think you probably still came up. The comment was, can I talk a little bit about supportive services for those possible DBEs who are on the line or that will listen to the recording later, or prime contractors, and what supportive services can do for them. What that actually is the Florida Department of Transportation has contracted out with 2 different providers to do support service for DBEs and for prime contractors to help identify DBEs. One of those groups is CEI, Construction Estimating Institute, which is the group that handles that CMDP program and the BGP program that you heard me talk about, as well as initial DBE supportive services. What we kind of do here well, here, I'll tell you about what the other one's name is too, and then I'll give you kind of an analogy that may help you remember even more about support services. The other group is the Florida State Minority Supplier Development Council, an aerial business group, and they lovingly call the council. And they actually are contracted out to work with prime contractors that are going after our large design build projects that a lot of you may look at and have read about in the papers that are happening throughout the state. Anything $50 million or above design build projects are assigned to that group, and uh, their purpose is to work with the contractors that are going after those projects and help them to identify DBEs who have capacity to work as subs on those projects. The little analogy we use that may help you remember, we kind of talk about them as both programs as crawl, walk, and run. The crawl piece being CMDP, the Construction Management Development Program and Bond Guarantee Program, where somebody may be just starting their business, starting their DBE business or small business, and or have been in business but really haven't been trying to do much work with the department, and so that they're kind of crawling through trying to figure out the department and the best way to do business. That's why that CMDP is so important, because there are classes that are done at no cost to the firms, but there's a cost, but the department is paying for that cost, and that was actually a statute for them to be able to find out how to navigate the DOT website, how to identify certain opportunities that are there, how to do construction, how to estimate properly to better their chances of winning work as either a sub or as a prime even. Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, there's been a rush of more contractors in the past several years taking advantage. But when we initially started support services, there was actually a larger group of the professional service consultant DBEs who took advantage of supportive services and took advantage of the assistance that we give, again, at no charge. And so what we're doing now, we're having our support service, which is the walk piece of that. So the crawl, CEI does, and it's CMDP in its classroom to kind of get you going. The walk piece is actual support services for DBEs. Again, that's funded by Federal Highway, and any state that has a DBE program has supportive services, has the ability for supportive services. We use those funds with CEI. They actually have both of those contracts. They do the support service piece for DBEs to help them build their businesses, no matter what it is that's needed. So if they need business plan help, if they need help developing capability statements, if they need help figuring out how to market, if they need help estimating, they do technical support for DBEs. They will help with that as well. So then even if you're in a crawl stage and trying to just get started and become a DBE, or if you're even past crawl stage because you've been doing work for other municipalities or other areas, but have not become DB certified, at no charge, they will help you go through the application. So you don't have to worry about paying somebody to do that. We have somebody that does that. Our support service folks do it for free for you. Help you go through the application. They don't give you answers because your answers are your answers, but they will help you make sure it's complete and that you're not missing anything. That tends to be the biggest piece that prolongs the process of being DB certified, is people not having completed applications, not giving the information, all the information that's asked for. So they'll go through, make sure it's complete, help you feel real good about that submission, and then that hopefully then helps you go through the process very quickly, and again, at no charge. Once you become DB certified, you then get access to all the other support services help that they can give you, all the other technical support. And then finally, if you're doing some work for DOT, maybe as a sub on some smaller jobs, or you've been even a prime on some small jobs, smaller jobs, and you're building your business is growing, you're starting to look at some of those large projects that you read about throughout the state, you then are ready to run. And so you kind of get moved over to and get into the purview of the council. And what they do, again, working on those large design build projects, they help get you in front of the, the folks that are vying for those projects. So any of the shortlisted firms, they'll get you in front of all those firms. They pull a whole group of DBEs together, so you get a chance to meet other DBEs that are just like you trying to work on that particular project, whether it's in the northern part of the state, middle of the state, or southern part of the state. They travel throughout the entire state, and those forums, as they call them, where they put you in front of the primes. They go to whatever district those projects are in. So again, that's where you would be too. And they would then pull you in, let you meet everybody that's shortlisted. So no matter who wins the job, you've had an opportunity to let them see what you're capable of, put your best foot forward, start to develop a relationship with them. And so that's one way that I think if you really take advantage of the support services program, if you're a DBE or a prime looking for DBEs, that's some of the best help you can get. And that then helps you help the state make sure we reach our triennial goal, both in the FTA and FHWA.
Putting you on the spot, I'm assuming all this information is available on the website, the links to the supportive services providers.
Yep. On our website, you'll see those links. You'll see phone numbers. Actually, you have my contact information in the documents here. You can feel free to contact me, and I will get you in the right direction. I'll point you to the right folks. So we really are serious here at DOT, in Florida DOT, about DBEs having opportunities to win work on our projects and to be a part of the projects that are going on here by FDOT. All the districts monitor it. It gets reported each month. It gets reported monthly through to the district secretaries as well as to our secretary. So again, it's something that we're very much involved with and have been race neutral since 2000 and have been successful in making our successful in achieving our DBE goal or overachieving our DBE goal for the past decade easily. You know, if you go through, as a matter of fact, if you go back and look at some of those numbers that were part of the past participation. So again, we take it very seriously and we want you to take advantage of it if you're out there. So thank you for that question, actually, because that gave me an opportunity to give a little commercial that will be in the recording. And so anybody at any time, if you wondering how you can step your game up and be a part of projects, both FTA projects and FHWA projects that have federal monies attached to them. And quite frankly, once you get that knowledge, you get that technical support, you use it on whether it's a federally funded project or not federally funded project, just all of our projects, because we do monitor our DB utilization on not just our federal projects that we report to FHWA. I'm talking about the highway pieces and the ones that are reported to FDA. We also monitor DB utilization on state funded projects, as it's stated. So, which is the bulk, which is a lot of money. So again, we hope you take advantage of it. I'm looking now to see what our time is. Looks like it's about 7:01. We're going to go ahead and end the meeting if there are no other questions. Nothing on the chat. So again, thank you all that did tune in for this meeting. Hopefully it was enlightening to you. And anybody that you know that didn't get a chance to, please point them to the website, the FDOT webpage, Equal Opportunity Office page, and FTA page. We'll again have the links posted on both and the documents posted on both, so that if you have comments you want to make before August 1st, you have an opportunity. So with that, I will adjourn. Thank you.